You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with the main man himself, Adam.
Oh man, what's going on?
Cult of Us, Cult of Personality, my friend.
Fucking trying to bring that sweet comedy heat, man. Trying to bring that sweet cult of comedy.
I don't know what I love more is the fact of you and Neil's kind of duo of comedy, or just picking on Neil the whole time and seeing where he goes with it. Because all right, so I mentioned I have a bone to pick. Now, the bone to pick is not with you and it's not with Neil. It's with the fact
Okay.
of I think coronavirus has literally turned everybody into a fucking stand-up comedian. Because everywhere I see on social media, everybody's calling themselves a stand-up comic. And I'm like, well, first of all, let's get Adam in here to talk about this, because Adam's an actual stand-up comic, because you actually perform at probably one of the hardest places to perform, and that is well, not Long Island, but New York, for instance.
Yeah, well, I mean, I performed all over the country, L.A., New York, everything. But like, yeah, I always take like a personal, I don't know, I want to say like attack or I don't know what to call it, but it's this thing where it's like, how like medical doctors hate when like if an English literature person's like, I'm a doctor of literature, and they're like, no, you're fucking not.
That's a big thing right now. That is really trending
Right.
on
It's
Twitter.
it's the same, but by the way, I think doctors are mostly fucking assholes, but they're right. Like they are right with that. Like they are like it's like, hey, I earned this. Just because you studied Shakespeare, you're not a doctor. You're a loser who could read. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like the
Yeah.
same thing with like comedy. It's like you could get on TikTok and do a dance and whatever, but like you're not a comic. Like you could get on Instagram and do sketches. That's great. That's sketch comedy though. You're not a comedian.
Well, how many people turned into a stand-up comic during lockdown? It's like, where the fuck are you performing?
Yeah,
Are you
that's
performing
my
at
point.
home to your
They're not.
family? Yeah.
Yeah, they're not, and that's the annoying part. It's like, do you go up on stage with prepared material and talk to strangers for 10 minutes? Oh, you don't. Okay, have you ever done that? Oh, you haven't. Then you're not a comic. Like you could be. I'm not saying like you can't do comedic things. I'm saying You're not a stand-up comic. You're a comedic personality. You could be an improv, right? That's not improv's his own thing. Not stand-up comedy though. Sketch comedy is its own thing. I love sketch comedy. It's not stand-up comedy though.
Well,
You know?
how much times is Twitter used for just cracking a one-line joke? You know how easy it is for me to create a joke through Twitter, but then if like I went on stage and tried to do it, it's why I don't call myself a comic, because it's so easy to type that shit on whatever online, put it on the internet, because you have plenty of time to craft it out and be able to do whatever. But when you're in the moment and you hear a classic, like something in a conversation or something, but like I heard it when someone was talking about Tinder or Twitter, or not Twitter, Tinder, or there's like these dating apps. You go on a date and you're talking to someone, you're like, wow, you're a lot like when you were texting back and forth, you're a lot more into it. Like you're a lot more sexy over the phone. And it's because you get all the fucking time you want to be able to respond.
Of course. It's easy to craft a one-line joke when you could be like, write it down, be like, nah, delete, delete, delete. Let me reword this here. But when you're on stage, you're like, all right, I wrote this down beforehand. Let's find out if we all think it's funny together. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're
Yeah.
finding out real time if that joke is funny or not. And if it's not, you're like, okay, well, I need some work to do on that joke, or like I gotta ditch the joke, or I got, whatever. But with everybody nowadays, it's so with just technology being so easy. It's like, well, I do comedy. It's like, no, 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 no. You don't do comedy. Like you do comedy things.
Yeah, well, remember we talked about it on your first time on the podcast, which was like the whole cancel culture thing. And then when I did that one episode, I specifically sent to you because I was like, "You're gonna fucking love this one." It
Oh, I
never
hated listening to that.
never punches down. Like comedy never punches down. Is like, yeah, it does, because you laugh at it, because a lot of the times you're laughing at how true it is. That's why Dave Chappelle is so damn popular. He makes fun of things that are obvious shit. That's like, wait, that is true. We are kind of taking it that way.
I don't believe in punching down because I'm going to make it political now. Here's who here's who believes in. By the way, I'm a libertarian. I have to say that before I go into anything political because everything's so politicized now. People will just hear whatever I have to say and be like, "Oh, you're a liberal. Oh, you're a Republican." I'm a libertarian. I don't give a fuck about left or right. Okay. Everybody
Wait,
has to hear that.
that's the classification for a libertarian?
No, classic is I believe in individual liberties and freedoms. That's
Oh,
what I care about. I don't give a shit about government. I don't believe in government. I think it's a fucking scam. I think taxes are theft. I'm that guy. I don't. We don't need government. We
I
don't.
might
But
be a
yeah,
libertarian because I don't
probably
believe
are. We'll
in a
talk later.
Republican or Democrat.
We'll talk later. But these people who say punching down are usually white academic liberals who think they're better than everybody, and they think they're not racist by saying things like that. But they're the most racist people I know because I view, and I know you do, we view everybody as equals. So punching down means I'm making fun of something less than me. So if I make which I don't, but I don't even do this type of material, but I have to defend it. So let's say I make a Mexican joke or a black joke or an Asian joke. Well, I view us all as human beings and all equals. So when you say I'm punching down, are you saying black people are less than us? Kind of sounds like it. You fucking racist piece of shit. Because white liberal for the most part, I'm vaguing here, vague topics here. For
Generalization.
the most part, yeah, generally, for the most part, are actually the racist ones because they think they have to speak up for people of color because they're dumb or something, like they can't defend themselves. I'm like, no, we're all human beings. We're all equals. We're all cool. Like we should all be able to poke fun at each other. You think you're better than them, and then your virtue signaling is you telling us not to treat them the same as I would treat someone like myself.
Well, so much of it's like a pride act. Like a lot of it gets done on social media, but I'm like, I
It's
guarantee you,
virtue signaling.
if you would have heard that fucking joke at home, you probably would have laughed. But since you're in front of people, you want to be seen as like this. It's so crazy because I saw on Twitter someone in New Zealand had spray painted a sign with spray paint something severely racist in a New Zealand language, like something against what they call themselves Kiwis down there. And then
Yeah,
it turns out that person had taken the picture and said, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is coming to our country." I can't, and it got all these likes and retweets and stuff. Turns out that person is the one that created it. And I'm like, you're trying to
of
show
course.
yourself as a fucking
Yes.
hero or like a knight of armor,
Martyr.
whatever
No,
you
it's
want
a
to call it.
martyr and victim. Yeah.
It doesn't why are you creating conflict that isn't there? It's like my whole idea of cancel culture I think is bullshit because if you're going to cancel somebody for a joke that they said because you find that offensive, you're not stopping that from happening. You're creating more anger, like Bill Burr says, that he's going to breed onto his kids and show everybody else like, "Oh, this is why I got canceled because they're like this." And then they're going to keep thinking that way. If it's not funny, nobody's going to laugh. But if it's funny and they laugh, you shouldn't get offended by it.
The only punishment of a joke should be no laughter. That should be the most severe punishment of a bad joke, right?
Not
That should be
losing your
it, and that is
career.
the right punishment, by the way. Exactly. The right punishment is like, oh, that wasn't funny. Okay, move on to the next. And here's the thing too that people always all these cancel culture people fail to realize. If that person kept being not funny like they say they are, eventually people would stop going to see them. But they obviously are funny. They obviously have an audience. It's just that it's not your audience, and that's the issue. It's like, well, I don't like what they're doing, so get it out of here. It's like, oh, okay, commie. Like
Yeah.
it's such commie fucking authoritative tyranny trash from one particular political party, the progressive side, right? And it's like you guys supposed to be the side of like open ideas, and it's like open ideas for the woke shit, but anything else, not cool. And it's like, okay, well, you're gonna throw away 2/3 of the country because 2/3 of the country doesn't think like you.
And it's like half the time they're listening just to get pissed off. And it's like you're searching for something, just anything that
It's
might.
actually no, it's actually crazy, dude. It's actually psychotic. But do you watch stuff to hate it? I watch stuff to enjoy it.
Yeah. And
'Cause
then
I'm
I
not a
kind of
fucking lunatic.
I switch the channel when I don't enjoy it.
Exactly. I just watched Wonder Woman, right? And it was awful. And it
Really?
was a bummer because yeah, it sucked. First one, was probably their best movie, DC, like, in the DCEU, like not counting like the Bale Batmans and shit. And then I go on Twitter and you're like, if you hated Wonder Woman because you're a racist, misogynist, I go, or it sucked dick. One of those two is probably true. Probably my thing. Because the first Wonder Woman, again, probably one of their best movies. So it's that culture that I can't. It's like if you have an opinion that goes against anything that they think, it's like you're wrong. It's like I just said though first Wonder Woman was the best movie. So I can't say this one is garbage. Like it's psychotic, dude. And I refuse to play by those rules. And luckily, I can't get fired from my job. I'm a comic.
Do you think it's kind of like when people get upset, it's kind of like trying to pick down at someone that might have like a god plateau in their eyes. They see it as like someone that's higher up on the pedestal and they want to try and knock you down. Like they tried that with Ryan Reynolds, but you can't really fuck with Ryan Reynolds because he just doesn't give a shit. I think that's the cure
No, he
to it
does
all.
give a shit. No, dude. I think that's the perception he get. He's a Hollywood A-lister, dude. If you don't think he's fucking in the zeitgeist like all those other fucking drones are, he is. He just plays it off like he's not. But sure as shit, if Hollywood comes knocking on his door and say, "Hey, do a pro lockdown fucking video," he would. And I like Ryan Reynolds. This isn't even a knock on Ryan Reynolds. It's just that to think that he's not some Hollywood elite is bullshit, dude. And that's the game that he played. And whatever, that's fine, man. He did the thing, and he's great for it. Whatever, but don't sit here and be like he's not them. He is them. He is.
I was looking at it more on the aspect of like when he plays Deadpool and he goes and
But it's a character, dude. It's a character.
That's what I'm
he's
saying.
Playing a but he's playing a character he likes that a majority of the people that like that content like. He's not doing anything dangerous. He's not. This is the thing that he's doing well to fool you. He's not doing anything dangerous or like, ooh, he's doing very funny comedic shit that we all like. What the fuck is so risky about it?
yeah, I mean, if you put it in that terms, yeah. But I mean, if you're picking on Hugh Jackman, you're fighting a whole audience of Hugh Jackman
You're
lovers.
not, because they're boys and everybody knows they're boys, and it's a fucking game within the movies. It's not.
Now I'm
He's
offended
a
you're
very
calling
safe...
me a boy, damn it.
he's safe. He's a safe dude. He's a handsome dude. He's a safe actor. He's a great he's by the way, and I like he's hilarious, dude. Great Deadpool. Fucking awesome. It's not what I'm saying.
Then explain to me Rick Moranis. Why did he get punched? Because he's simple? Because he's got a baby face?
Because he's Canadian.
Because he's Canadian. Ryan Reynolds is Canadian. He didn't get punched in the face.
He's handsome and in shape.
How dare you say Rick Moranis isn't handsome?
Rick Moranis has an 8-pack, though. He's shredded.
I just look at it like you see so many people. Like I listen to Rob Lowe talk about a lot of things. Like back from when he was first doing TV production and everything. When he was the 6th channel. His show was, I think it was called New Kind of Family. And they got like 9 million views, but he was the 6th rated channel. And a top show now like Big Bang Theory barely scratches at 1 million. So it's like to hear that and hear how bad he says it was rated. He even talks about it. Who wants to be fucking famous today? It's not an easy thing because you're constantly being the limelight of things, but you're being picked at and prodded at.
I think it depends how you use your fame. And like, okay, so again, this is something I really started realizing, especially this year with the COVID stuff. And like, I think it's disgusting that people are very pro lockdown because all business, not just restaurants, all businesses are literally being destroyed in this country. Not Target, not Lowe's, not Walmart.
Well, some Walmarts are shutting down.
Okay, but my point, dude, with Walmart as a company is fucking fine.
Yeah.
And also they got a giant bailout. My point is the pizzeria down my block is fucked. So it's disgusting to me to like see all these fucking millionaire blue checkmark Twitter Hollywood people being like, stay in your homes. It's easy. We're doing it. Hey man, die in a pool with fire. Like, are you kidding me? You're a fucking millionaire. These people worked their whole lives to open up a business, and then the government's like, nah, shut that shit down forever. And you're just gonna turn around and be a fucking zeitgeist cuck and be like, yeah, shut it down. Respect them. I don't respect anybody. I don't respect any of them. And I think it takes a certain personality to truly be like, no, fuck Hollywood. I made it and I broke through. Every person you see, for the most part, Hollywood A-list person will never, ever, ever, ever break that mold.
Yeah.
Because what they have is too good. They have everything, and they know because someone told them, you do what we say or this is over for you. So when you saw Aaron Paul doing that BLM video where he's like, we must, it's like, shut the fuck, you don't even know a struggle. And you're going to sit here as a rich millionaire white person and tell me I'm like, no, dude, I'll fight you in the street. Like, this is the thing that I'm over. I'm over it. Like, we're all equals, dude. And it's not a race issue. It's a fucking us versus them issue. And they want it to be a race issue.
Well, a lot of it comes
because the race
down.
issue takes away the issue.
A lot of it comes down to people saying, "Why aren't you saying anything about this? Why aren't you saying anything about this?" And then it feels like their career's on the line. And a lot of people, like you're saying, don't want to lose that career aspect. Very few people in the industry are willing to say a joke knowing that that could be the end of their career because they just don't give a shit. And those to me are the good people. Those to me are the people that are like, you're not letting everybody else influence who you are as a person. And that's what denies the original creativity that got them there in the first place, is when someone can say something, I don't like what you did, so don't do that. And then you listen to that. When you do that and it's not funny, or if it is funny and you're just denying a bunch of people of this joke thing, you're choosing media. That's not like choosing a channel on a television. You're fucking saying, I only want this up, and anything that's not that shouldn't go up and be in the spotlight.
Exactly. Which is, again, a very libertarian thing. Is I'm like, no, you could have your thing, but let me have my thing. Like, the libertarian thing is like, as long as it's non-aggression principle, as long as you're not hurting anybody or physically taking their stuff, you know what I'm saying? It should be fine. So like, you could have your fucking woke bird poetry reading session. Great, man. Do it. But I want to go tell dick jokes with my friends and be fucking dirty. You know, and that's the fucking cutoff, and that's the trade-off that they don't want. They want it to be like, no, it's only our stuff, and also suck our dick over our stuff. That's what it is. It's not like, okay, we understand. There is no understand. It's total control, and I'm not having it. And I'll die on that hill. That's a hill I'm willing to die on. All day.
I didn't like when I read an article about it was an all women's comedy night. And like, I don't give a shit. Whatever. I don't care. But then there was a guy.
That happens a lot in Philly.
Yeah, well, there was a guy that went there and he was suing because he wasn't allowed to go in. And then people were like, what? And then when I said that to that one episode I sent you, and the comedian laughed, like, why would you care? It's like, it's the same thing in the other way, though, because then you're restricting things. It doesn't, it's like, but it doesn't fit their narrative or doesn't fit the side they're fighting.
Exactly.
So then they go against it. And I'm like, then you're
well, so
picking and
I've
choosing.
had this exact, okay, Robbie, I've had this exact argument with a woker female comic. I would say like the beginning of the year before COVID. And I was like, listen, the fact that I see a plethora of show flyers for all female, all trans, non-binary, inclusive shows, I truly do not give a fuck. Have them all week. I don't care. But if I put on a show with 4 dudes, I'll hear it. That it's like, why is no females? Why is no this? Why is there no that? It's like, whoa. You could do your thing. I could do my thing. Now, their argument to that is, and obviously I don't agree with it, but this is what they tell me. Well, because white men in comedy have had it so high for so long, so we should be able to have our own stuff and also be able to do that. And I go, no, you actually shouldn't. It should actually be all inclusive, or not even that. You should be able to do your own thing, but and you should also be able to do this. But you can't tell me not to also do your thing too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. As in, like, it's the hypocrisy. It's the hypocrisy that drives me nuts. And I have very few pet peeves in this world. Hypocrisy, and personal accountability are 1 and 2 for me. So not holding yourself personally accountable for things that you know you could have done, right? So like, I'll get into a fight. Let's say I'm with my wife and she'll, I don't know, not take something off the stove in time, and we're both standing there, and she's like, well, why didn't you do that? It's like, well, because you were cooking it. So it's your responsibility to remove it from the stove. Just because we're both in the room doesn't mean I should have done it. That's a bad that's a small stupid
It's
example.
like when I
but
it's
you
like
know
when
what I'm
I
saying?
leave the house or something and the porch light's on. It's my responsibility when I come home to turn the porch light off when I get home.
Exactly, something like that. So for people who try to push blame and make excuses, I hate them. I don't like. There are valid excuses for some things, but most things in life, you're being lazy. Now I think I'm pretty good with this for myself. I'll be like, oh, this is the problem in my life, and I know how to fix it, but I'm not because I'm being lazy with it. But I'll admit, like, hey, I'm being lazy with it, so I can't complain. But 95% of people around me, they don't actually want to fix the fucking problem.
They just
right?
want something to bitch about.
Right, and I hate that. So that's and my second pet peeve is fucking again excuses, right? So it's like I mean uh hypocrisy. So it's like, well, we want an all inclusive show, but you can't have one. Okay, rules for thee and not for me. Fuck you. I don't know. You can't make. It's the same thing with the lockdown shit. Newsom's like no indoor dining, but I'll get caught with fucking no mask with 12 people in an indoor restaurant. It's like you should be hung in the street. What are we talking about right
So
now? It's like
the one episode I actually started getting in a bit of an argument about was I was talking about movies for so long, and then someone said like you should stay home and you should do this, and I was like, you don't understand the lockdowns for some people though, because immediately before that he was explaining how he had, and I'm not calling him out or anything, but had said that he works from home, he's really enjoyed the time off, it's gotten him to be able to work on a lot of stuff, and I'm like, that's amazing for you. But some people don't have that fucking option.
most.
I live in a beach town. Our summer was shut down to the very end. So we made barely any money. And now going through my town, a bunch of mom and pop shops are gone forever that are never going to open back up.
Yep.
And I actually knew businesses where the owners had killed themselves. So I'm not pro
Yeah. Oh yeah.
lockdown
Oh
on that aspect.
right. Oh, I am. No, listen to me, man. I am a 0% lockdown. 0%. I think if you are such a fucking coward, because here's the reality, man. If you're not old and you're not sick, you ain't dying from this fucking thing. You're just not. So if you're a healthy, reasonably healthy person and you're such a coward or lazy where you don't want to go out, man, stay the fuck home. Stay the fuck home. Stay the fuck home. But to tell a family who's worked 50 years to keep something open to be like, you just want to eat at a bagel, you want a restaurant, you selfish, you want to kill grandma. I want to take that person and physically beat them to death with my bare hands because they've never worked or owned a thing in their fucking life. By the way, I have never owned a business. I don't know what that's like, but all I've been doing with my time is trying to support businesses during this whole lockdown. Me and my wife have been going to supporting as many like fucking restaurants as we can.
Do you think it's pretty fucking ironic that the people that are saying they're fighting for the other person's feelings are the ones that aren't even understanding the feelings themselves? Like it's
No. Again, it's no. They're the party of hypocrisy, and that's why they sicken me. Because the right, they're openly like dicks, right? They're like, we do this for money or whatever, and it's like, yeah, okay, man, that's what I can like. But they're like honest with their bullshit, as opposed to like the left where they're just it's just this hypocritical bullshit. And my wife's gonna come down and probably start yelling. She hates the left too. She's gonna start getting in a rant about it. But like, it's a hypocrisy we can't stand, and she'll say it all day too herself. Like, why can't we go to a restaurant but we see, like, she says, like, the Steph, what mayor was like literally flew someplace, Steph, to go to a restaurant that you were telling me about? But like, she was telling me like some like mayor was like, you everything shut down here, and then like flew somewhere and like got caught like at a restaurant. And it's like, what are we doing? It's like,
oh, if it's their whole narrative thing, as I'm saying, if it's okay for someone else to do something, but they can give you restrictions on that you can't do something, I'm not a fan of. But the idea that like I think the government should be able to pay you to stay home if you want to stay home. If you need to stay home because you don't feel safe, then you should get paid to stay home. But if you want to work and you're trying to save your business's life, then you definitely should have the ability to be able to do so. It doesn't make sense of why you would be like, no, you have to go because I don't want my grandmom to die. Then you don't get to leave your fucking house. It's like bringing a baby to the movie theater. If you have a fucking toddler and you know it's going to cry, you don't get to go to the movies.
you say it to stay home. Exactly. That's how it should work. Um, man, it just this whole COVID thing. It's just a bummer when you start to look at it and you go, I mean, this was just a straight grab for power. Like it was, in other words, COVID was an excuse, right? I'm not saying it's not real. I'm saying COVID happened, and then they're like, great, that's a reason to just see how much we get away with.
Yeah.
And you'll never convince me otherwise because you're lying to me or yourself if you think that. Like if you truly think this wasn't a power grab, again, not like it wasn't a reason for the power. It was an excuse for the power grab. That's it. This virus was an excuse to see what they could get away with. And hey, man, them with the media was able to trick more than half the country into fucking lockdowns. Congratulations, you won. Like you did it. You know, you did it. And I'm actually will throw a little shit on businesses here. It is on them to stand up for themselves at one point. Like I can only support you so much. We can only support them so much.
My local businesses stood up. They literally put signs. They put signs out on the window that said, "If you're a coronavirus snitch, then don't come in here." Because their kitchen is like not even. It's not social distance because we live in a beach town, so everything's packed up against beside each other.
Right. But my point is like the majority of businesses still aren't doing that. So like you know, I really this is like one of the things that fires me up the most is the business closures. And I'm willing to support you, but you have to also grow some balls and tell your governor to eat your dick. You know, because like most DAs, district attorneys, like Bucks County in Pennsylvania where I live now, he openly said like he won't enforce a single lockdown on a business. So like you have to stand up for yourself at one point too. You know, so it's like it is on you too. It is on them too. Especially I'm not saying initially back in March and April because I'm sure none of them expected this. But you see now what happened, and you have to know if you're a business owner, they'll do it to you again. You have to stand up for yourself. You have to.
There was a point, I think, when we opened back up and then they were fearing a second lockdown again, that everyone in our town, our businesses were like, we're not letting that fucking happen again. Because it was just this thing of like, you told us it was going to be this amount of time and then it wasn't. And then a lot of shit went down. But everyone was giving shit to Hogan. I was giving shit to Hogan. I just didn't like the aspect of you telling me that I was going to get fined. Once you put that in those types of words that you're going to get fined for leaving your home, you're going to get fined for not abiding by rules.
Right. Well, it's straight up. So Robbie, what happened is I'm a big history guy. I admire in history. I love American history too, and I love the Constitution and stuff. And it's straight up everything they've done has straight up just violated our Constitution. It actually also Bill of Rights. It's like a freedom of movement within the country. Like they're limiting your freedom of movement. Like they can't do that. It's right there. It's plain as day in the Bill of Rights, the Article of Confederation, and our Constitution. All three of it. It says it. They can't. The government can't impede your right to a business, right to pursuit of a life, family, and what every single governor, minus 5 of them, has done is said, "Cool, crunch that shit up and fucking Kobe it into the fucking hoop." They threw him out, and they said we don't care about the Constitution. And then our courts also went, yeah, we also agree with that. It's like, why do we have we became like a banana republic overnight?
Yeah, well,
Like as a country.
it's the idea of when you give something that much power and then they realize the power they have, they never want to give that shit up. That's the problem when you put somebody in power. They never want to give that shit up.
Yeah, it's like we're getting to the point where like we know what has to be done, but it's like who's gonna make the move to do it? Like you catch my drift?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be on camera saying it, but like some point, some of these, someone's gonna have to spark because what's happening is it's fucking disgusting. And it's straight not American. And if you agree with what's happening, you're my enemy. And that's how I'm starting to look at it. Because it's like, again, I don't care what you do with your life. You could do whatever you want, do whatever job you want, dress how you want, identify how you want. I truly, truly, truly swear on everything I love. My wife, my dog that's leaving right now, everything I love. I don't care. Do it. Do what makes you happy. The minute you start to impede on my freedoms, now you're my fucking enemy, and I'm gonna look at you as an enemy, and I'm gonna treat you like an enemy. You're not an American compatriot anymore. You're not my brother. You're not my sister. You're an enemy, because Americans should support each other. We're supposed to rise up. We're supposed to fucking hate tyranny. We literally fought 3 wars against tyranny. 4. 4 wars against tyranny as a country in our past. The Revolution, War of 1812, I'll count the Civil War, and because that's fucked up, and World War II. We literally fought, and then to turn around 80, 90 years later from World War II, where you had legitimate villains trying to take over the world, massacring millions of people because they hated them, just to turn around to try to take away everything we fought for because you're woke or you think the progressive politician told you so. You disgust me, and I want to fight you. Like,
I'm not trying to sound like a conspiracy theorist here, but do you ever think that, like, not saying coronavirus isn't real? Obviously, it's real. I have actually friends. My dentist right now is actually suffering from coronavirus, so that's why I can't see him. But the fact of, do you think that a lot of this was a perfect ploy to just spark up attention? Because I think a lot of people were getting to a point where they really didn't like what the government was doing about a lot of shit. Social media, not only just social media, but media in general, has exposed the government in ways that we would never even imagined. And during the coronavirus, during the lockdown, everybody's so worried about that. They released that UFOs were real. They're still going to end up releasing more shit, that there's water on the moon and there's an obelisk on Mars, shit that they've been covering up for the longest fucking time. And I'm like, this is a perfect fucking ploy situation for giant companies like Walmart, like these giant business corporations, to take up mom and pop shops where they can buy and expand. It's kind of like, it sounds crazy, but would it be so wrong? Because we've done a lot of crazy shit in our government history.
I mean, I'm just going to repeat Jimmy Dore here, what he said, but he's right. Every single time something like this has happened, 9/11, the mortgage crisis, the Great Depression, transfer of wealth goes where?
To the
elites. Straight up. Every single fucking time. And this is what sickens me about the right and the left, is they'll sit here and they'll call each other the evil ones when they both get their pockets lined. And they have their disciples fight, as in disciples being you and I, right? So it's like you have all my left-leaning friends and my right-leaning friends being like, Biden's a pedophile racist, Trump's a fucking retard, whatever. It's like, cool. They're all rich, and you guys don't have jobs. So they did what they wanted. They divided and conquered, which is legitimately every war strategy, right? They divide and conquer, but instead of city-states, it's people. So they go, oh, if everyone realized that it's actually a class issue, not a race issue, oh, we're in trouble. Let's spark up race tensions.
We digged ourselves in a deep hole here, Adam.
Because the right still feeds into it, though, because they want to get protected. So they'll feed into the shit, right? Because their money's also at risk. And it's all a game. It's all a game. And when you realize it's all a game, you go, oh, I got it. Okay. So they hate each other, quote unquote, but really it's fuck us. If you don't have money, fuck you. It's not about race. It's about money.
Do you ever get these deep into this types of, because you're passionate about this, obviously, but do you ever get deep into this on Cult of Us?
No.
It's just kind of like, do you wish you would, though?
Comedy. No, we keep that shit comedy.
I was about to say, do you not ever want to dive into something like this?
Yeah, but not on Cult of Us.
Not on Cult of Us.
I'll do this on another podcast. I'm thinking about starting up a solo libertarian podcast. I'm gonna bring on guests and stuff, you know. But no, Cult of Us that's for comedy. That's to be silly and to be an idiot and to joke around with my dumb friend. and
You
joke
can
around with
joke
other things.
around about this stuff. You just crack jokes on it and the
It doesn't,
ridiculousness
dude.
of it.
It gets heated. It gets serious. People don't want to hear it. It's not, our podcast is not the platform for it. It's just not.
Because I look at
Now
that like
on Patreon episodes maybe.
yeah, I mean, when you get the, I guess, because it's really, really hard for people to listen to something like this. I don't know why. I think it's because a lot of it's too real, but it's something that's so opinionated too, where people are going to be like, "Oh, I don't agree." It just a slight. They might agree with everything you say, but then one little tad difference, and then it turns in like to this thing where they just don't like what you say. Then, the one thing I wasn't a fan of during all this was the fact of that Twitter is owned by Facebook Group, and Facebook Group is owned by Mark Zuckerberg, and Mark Zuckerberg supported Joe Biden. So when that laptop situation came out, he made sure that on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter,
Yeah.
you couldn't
Listen.
check recent hashtags. That pissed me off because
Let-
it was going to affect the election. I was like, hang on a second. I'm not even pro Trump. I don't give a shit. I didn't vote.
Right, same.
But what the fuck? I don't like how you can pick
it's
media shit.
Here's the thing. I'm a libertarian and I support private business. They're a private company. They could do what they want. That being said, if that doesn't open up the eyes to even the most anti-Trump person, that's a real problem. Because what's stopping the next thing? It goes back to that old thing. It's like, well, first they came for the bakers, but I wasn't a baker, so I didn't give a shit. Then they came for the artist, but I wasn't an artist, so I didn't care. Then they came for the bankers, but I wasn't a banker, so I didn't care. Well, eventually gonna get to you, man. Eventually gonna get to you. Who determines what's wrong and right? That's what I don't like. Now, again, they're a private company. An argument could be made where they're so big now, where they're more like a public service, like a gas company or electric company.
Yeah.
But they're not yet. And I don't want to be a hypocrite with my beliefs, right? So, do I think what they did was fucked up? Yeah. Are they complete pieces of shit and obviously agenda leaning fucking lefty garbage? Yes. Do they have the right to do it? Yeah, they did. That's, I can't say no because I'll be a hypocrite. I'm not gonna be a hypocrite.
Yeah.
I think they're garbage though.
I think the hard part is for people that were using the media and stuff. I think it was like you're denying. I think you should be a public. You should be a source, or you should be something that should be able, because you're giving out information every single day, no matter what you're doing. Your platform is now a platform for information. It's like if you did a history podcast or something, you're a platform for information. So if you're specifically not targeting something because it might affect the way people would view your idol or your side, then that's fucking wrong of you to do that.
It always goes back to David Patrick Henry, John Patrick Henry, fucking I think he's the one who said, I don't know if he's the one who said it. God, my fucking brain. We said I don't agree with what you said, but I'll die for your right to say it. It's like, yeah, man, I don't have to agree with you, but I will always, 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 always side with the right for you to say whatever the fucking crazy thing you want to say. I will never side for you to be censored, ever. No matter if how against politics, morals it goes with me. Hey, man, this is a platform for you. Godspeed. I'll never fucking wish that on anybody. I don't want censorship on anybody.
That's a big thing for
But
me
they
too.
do.
Is I'm not pro censorship on the idea that when you censor things, you literally dumb down intelligence. There should be reasons, or there should be knowledge out there of certain words you cannot say. Not saying that someone can't say those words, but knowing you're not supposed to. You're understanding the morals of how you are. Obviously, there's words that's horrible to say. But if you make those words forbidden, if you make those things locked down where people will never understand why they're bad words, then you're just dumbing intelligence. You're censoring people of not being able to express themselves. You're literally taking people's creativity away. And that's not with words. That's with other things like art forms. If you're going to say, oh, that art might be transphobic, that art might be this. you're censoring somebody from expressing themselves. You know how many people could easily get upset off those paintings where somebody paints naked murals using their body as a paintbrush or some shit? There are a lot of people that don't want to see vagina art or dick art, but there's artists out there creating it, and that's hurting their creativity if you don't want to see that.
I'm yeah, there's some things where I am see like here it's hard, man. Like politics is hard. It's a weird. I don't mean politics like Congress politics even. I mean like social politics. I mean just like any type of politics. It's
The world
hard.
is fucking complicated.
Yeah, because you get these again, I'm libertarian, so a lot of me is like fuck government, do you. But I still think libertarians have a duty to also be socially, morally responsible for things too. So like when I see things like parents injecting their children with hormones to make them trans and they're like an 8-year-old, that's child abuse and I want to kill them. Like it's not there's no you're not an adult making a decision. You're harming a child. And it makes me so mad inside where my only thing is like, oh, I want to get my hands on you. I want to harm. I want to hurt you. Like that's what anytime I see harm to children or animals, like abusive harm. I don't mean like I'm eating a steak. That's not what I fucking mean. I mean like like someone beats a dog or someone like hurts a child.
Well, then
Especially
what happens?
children. It's
What about the parents? The parents that do that and they don't really believe that, but they feel like they're going to be pressured or they're going to be yelled at or something's going to happen to them because they're not conforming to how some people want them to be. That's the issue. Is that when you come across something where somebody,
what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you give me an example? Because I'm
it's
not
kind
sure.
of like forced thinking. Like imagine someone saying like, can you believe what they did? Yeah, but we just got to accept it. And then they kind of go like this, but what do you feel? Well, I feel this. It's like, but that's like, seems like a staged response. Like you're kind of saying that because you've been told that's how you're supposed to think. Like it's not actually how
Right.
how do you actually feel? And the person's like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. It's like, you know how you feel, but you won't express it because you're afraid. I don't like that because that's forced thinking. That's forced
Yeah.
of how you're supposed to act. I want to know how that person really feels. And then I want to talk to them about that and see that. And if you don't come to a conversation or you come to this thing where it's like, obviously you're not wanting to change your side on things, then okay, you walk away from it. But forcing someone to conform to the way you fucking think is my biggest issue out of everything that has
Yeah.
happened with everything that's going on.
Groupthink, collective thought. It's awful. It's awful. It's creative killers, right? And it's also idea killers, not even creative ideas, just like good idea killers too. Has to go. Unfortunately, everybody does it. Both sides do it. It's just there's just certain things that when I see it, my only response is like, oh, I need to be violent towards that because that's the appropriate action. And then there's some things I see, I go, no, that should just be talked out. You know, I am a believer that like violence isn't answer for certain things. Like that's bullshit. I feel like violence is never the answer. Yeah, it is. 100% is for some things. For some things, it's not. Right? But to say violence is never the answer is a very safe life answer thing to say. I was saying, violence is sometimes the answer. Not always, but sometimes. People who say it's not come from a very I hate
Safe.
using this safe life. Yeah, a very safe life who's never had a struggle or who's never been in a real conflict. Violence is absolutely the answer sometimes.
I think there's two types of people. There's the people that want to be left the fuck alone, and then people that won't leave them the fuck alone.
Right.
And that is the biggest issue because it's like they're just not fine with letting that person think that way or letting that person be that way.
Exactly.
The thing is, we're living in an evolved society. Same thing I told the one episode I sent you. We're living evolved. If it's not funny, then you're not going to get a laugh. And then then you're going to move on and find better jokes. But you're living in a society where it's constantly changing, constantly evolving, but a lot of it is very, very forced. I'm not talking about like any racial stuff. I'm talking about like when it comes to the mindsets that you're supposed to be thinking, or like what you're supposed to be doing as a parent. Are you doing the right thing? Like, is your child getting therapy counseling every hour and a half? It's like, I don't think my kid needs therapy. It's like, well, then you're a bad parent. You can't just go and put those standards on somebody. There's been multiple accounts of just news reports of, oh, this person was a bad parent because he made their kid walk home from school. It's like they live right next to the fucking school.
Right.
How much
I
information are
walked
you giving
home.
out? Yeah.
It was awesome. What are you talking about? Some of my most fun times was walking home. Like,
Yeah.
because they don't tell the truth. So their narrative and agenda is like, and there's a difference between if you were to be like, I fucking hate gay people, or to be like, oh, dude, that's gay. But they would treat that like the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, right? Is where you go, hey, man, you might not like the fact that I said, hey, dude, that's gay, but you know where it came from. It's the intent versus impact, right? Or it's like, you fucking knew if I was like, that dude, that's gay. You 100% knew I wasn't being hateful, condescending towards actual gay people. You knew it was just an expression of the time I grew up in. And sometimes I still say it. I'm 34, dude. I grew up saying that's gay. That's how it is. I really don't say it. I barely say that anymore, right? Because you grow, you get older. People are like, yeah, you shouldn't say it. I'm like, whatever. I'm on the streets one day being like, gay people should burn. Yeah, have a conversation with me. You know what I'm saying? There's a fucking difference. It's stupid. It's stupid. It's that shit is stupid.
I had
It's
gotten crap for when I was talking about the punching down thing. I had gotten crap for a joke I had said about the Salvation Army because I think the Salvation Army's bullshit.
they
Because
are, and they're also one of the most like scandalous.
I think it's the idea of being forced empathy. You're forcing people to donate, and a lot of the times people are donating because they're pressured into it, or because they're trying to make themselves look good in front of other people by donating $1 and rolling it up so you can't see it and shoving it in there. I'm like, you should just leave the bucket out there and see who's actually good-hearted enough without pressure on them to see what she'll donate. It roots out the fakeness because this world is like, you look on social media, half the shit is flushed with fucking fakes. It's none of it's real. It's so hard to tell. And then it's other people wanting to be other people by stealing their profile or something. It's like, oh, how hard is it to be authentic, man, and just give a shit? It's not hard to care about people. It's really not. It's fucking easy as hell. And if you have opinions and views on stuff, doesn't mean yours is 100% the right way. But don't shut somebody else down. Just fucking do your thing. Be you.
Yeah, it's also really annoying when we were before COVID, before government overreach shut us down. We were running monthly shows, comedy shows at this awesome venue, and we would book anybody we thought was funny. So dudes, chicks, every color you could think of, every gender you could think of. If we thought you were funny, we booked you. I've only this will all circle back. I've only ever had to block 2 people on social media because I hate blocking people on social media. I think it's weak. Like I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, you want to shit talk me. I'll just ignore you. But like, I had to block these 2 people because I personally know them, and they were like trying to come after me for like jokes that were said on podcasts previous. So I had to cancel them. I had to block them. I canceled them for myself. I blocked them. These 2 people are the super woke comics who, guess what all of the shows they booked were? All white people. But I'm the bad guy because I made a joke on a podcast. I'm actually paying women. I'm actually paying comics of color. I'm actually paying other comics of whatever sexual orientation. You're paying other white woke people. Actually, you're not even paying them. Alt rooms usually are scams, and they'll fucking just take all the money. So you're just doing woke white comedy in front of other woke white people, and you're not even selling out. Guess what we were doing, Rob? We were selling out every fucking month. Guess who's coming to our shows? Everybody. Oh, man. Look at that. Is it because we're authentic and you're full of shit? Sure is.
It's kind of like that one woman you had on, and I had cracked a comment, and she was gonna bring it up on the air about it, and you're like, "No, that's my buddy Robbie. He's actually a really good dude." And I was like, I cracked. You remember that episode you did? I forgot what her stand-up name was. I said something. I was like, "Is this just like this?" And then like it was something me and you would get. And you were talking to her. It was like an interview type thing. You had her on, and then she was gonna bring it up, and you're like, "No, that's my buddy Robbie."
Well,
It was
I
like
mean, I remember,
it was a few months
but
ago.
I don't remember though. Like I kind of do, but my fucking brain injuries do. I'm sorry, but I
It's
kind of remember, but not who or what was said.
It was something stupid. It was something like, "Oh, that's what we call." It was something about censorship. It was like a joke.
Caitlin Rupert. It was
She
Caitlin.
was getting 100% ready to fucking attack me,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
she
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
understand. That's why I say we're all way too quick to jump the
yeah.
gun on
Well,
something.
I'm gonna defend her a little bit. She's my friend, but that's not why I'm defending her. I'm defending her because she's a female comic, and she's also kind of in like the skanks world, and they're I fucking love the skanks world. I know a lot of those guys right now. I don't know Jade, Lewis, or Dave, but I know like a lot of them around them.
Mhm.
I know like Dave Temple, Aaron Berg, Caitlin Rupert. I know a lot of them right personally. Um, like unfortunately, some fans are dicks.
I know that's what I thought. I thought twice
And
about it
they
after I
will
said it.
fucking trash her just for being a woman. I've seen it, and like she's cool. She's one of the good ones. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel bad for her. She has to fight off a lot of that unjustly. So she's probably like, oh, it's another just asshole. That's why I was like, no, he gets it. That's why I had to defend you. And then she was like, oh, okay. But she got it right away. Once I said that, she got
Yeah.
it. Like she's not like that's the thing about her. It's not like she was like, no, still like she was like, oh, okay. Once she understood. But I don't blame her.
How
Honestly.
shitty is that you feel like that because of the fact that how hard it is and for some people to hate you just on your gender? Like that is the most ridiculous thing, that you can't do a craft that you love because you're afraid that you're not, or you don't get as much attention just on the basis of your gender. And I think the issue is that is horrible, but at the same time, it's not everywhere and it's not the norm. Like that's pretty fucking rare that you get that type of scenario where it's like that. And it might be your everyday thing, I think.
No, it's definitely a heavy comedy scenario for sure. I've had plenty of non-comics who, once they find out I'm a comic, they'd be like, "Women aren't funny, huh?" I'm like, Jesus Christ! It's like let's come out and say it. I'm like, I know a lot of funny female. I mean, I know more funny male comics, but like there are funny female comics. It's a crazy thing to just say to me, like, to yell it out, like it's like that's it's almost acting like I must have no female friends. Like people must
Yeah.
look at me and be like, "You have no female friends. Let me say this crazy thing to you." It's like, no, dude.
I
do
think
have-
Hillary Clinton's hilarious. I love it when she forgot all those emails that she sent out.
Yeah, no, like she should be she should be killed because of everything she's
Hey,
done.
don't
That's
say
awful.
that on air. That's proof.
But no, it's like, yeah, it's weird that people say that, but it's fine. It is what it is. It's crazy, but people just say shit. It's fine, But yeah, going back to the Caitlin Rupert thing, yeah, she's cool, but it all really does come down to like that. We want to do everything we want, but you also have to do what we want. And I'll just never, ever, 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 ever concede to that.
We call it controlling comedy.
Yeah. I'll just never. Like, you can't. And you'll find most of those comics who are like that are also very unfunny. And I also noticed it's like a lot of those like Seth Simons, who goes after like the skanks all the time, and like a lot of these comedy bloggers who are like failed comics. I'm noticing a trend where it's a lot of wannabe comics who failed, and it's almost like they're trying to cancel the good comics so they can sneak in.
I don't like it, the fact that everybody calling themselves a comic just on the basis of a joke they might have said in an episode of a podcast or something. And next thing you know, they start going around saying, well, I'm the funniest guy. Then they start crafting out jokes. I don't know how many people I've come across that are like that. I'm like, they're like, "What do you want to talk about? My stand-up comedy? Is that why I want you on?" I was like, "No, I don't want to actually talk about it at all because I've seen some of your shit and a lot of it is not funny. It's no offense to you, but I just didn't find the humor funny." I had some woman, never mind. I'll tell you off air. It's a fucking terrible joke I created, but she is a stand-up comic and she also teaches like special ed on the side. And I was like, "Oh, what do you call special ed?" She's like, "Well, kids that have ADHD, special ed." And I'm like, "Hold on a second. I have fucking ADHD and I'm not on the spectrum." But then it mind fucked me because I was like, how many times in my life have I thought that maybe I was retarded and people weren't telling me? And I was like, if that's fucking true, then you're telling me ADHD is on the spectrum, then maybe I'm talking right now, but it's not full words. It's all like gibberish. So I really mind screwed myself for a couple of days. And she was like, no, I guess being mentally disabled is ADHD. And I was like, I don't think so. She's like, don't you tell me my daughter has ADHD. And I was like, I have fucking ADHD and I'm not on the spectrum.
That's banana. See, that shit right there is it is a victim. It's like it has to be like, no, I have the. It's like, shut the fuck up. No one cares.
It goes deeper.
You're not special.
It goes deeper. After that was said, she goes, I said, no, I have ADHD. And then she goes, well, it's on the spectrum because in the education system, it's a learning disability. I was like, a learning disability is different from being mentally challenged. And then like I sent it to 5 people and then I realized she's a stand-up comic as well. And I was like, oh, so here's my bad joke I didn't want to say. But I was like, is the reason why you're a stand-up comic because the jokes you tell to those mentally challenged kids that you teach? Like, it was a bad joke. I mean, I thought it was pretty fucking good, but it was not good for society standards, I would say. But just in that aspect of things of like, wow, like how aggressive she was ready to get to cancel me just over being like, I have ADHD and I'm not on the spec. I just didn't agree. But as soon as I didn't agree, it was this whole like, you're against me type thing. And I'm like, I'm not against you. I just don't believe in that thing. I don't believe
even the word retarded. Like Doug Stanhope years ago wrote a great like open letter about that word. And anybody should go listen. Go look it up. It's very good. But essentially, and I'm gonna fucking mess it up. But essentially the point is like, it doesn't matter what word we come up with to describe that. That's the word we will use to make fun of another person. Like you were like, I will like, I'm like, Robbie, stop being retarded. I have never once ever, and I know you haven't either, actually went to somebody with Down syndrome or with actual and been like, "What's up, retard?" That's crazy. No one does that. It's done to other people. And also, that word, by the way, isn't even like. It just literally means like slow. That's all it really literally means. Yeah. So anyway, Doug Stanhope did obviously a beautiful open letter, and even like professors of like literature and shit were like, yeah, he's kind of right. Like, you know, like you have to concede to like, it's like, yeah, he's right. So anytime someone says that to you, it's like, stop. It's not, because you know who's not hearing it? Retarded people. They're not hearing this conversation right now.
You don't know that.
I'm fucking retarded. I'm having a conversation with you.
I think there's a point like when Bob Saget really kind of hit me when he said like, I can't believe that the only comedy that's safe to do now is like jokes about my dick because it's mine and nobody else can say that it's not. You know what I mean? Like it gets hard when it all becomes pretty self-deprecating because trying to take a shot out there is like, there's a high likely possibility it's going to get some flack for it. And I think as a comedian or as a person, if you say something and you know it's fucking awful, but if you say something, you're like, that is a good joke. Like, even though that thing I said about like the teacher, you know, is because you're a stand-up comic, because you're teaching those mentally challenged kids, is that where you practice? That is a good joke, but there are some that are pretty unsafe to do and stuff where it's like, what the fuck did you just say? There's got to be a line that needs to be drawn, but they lump everything in the same category. They put everything as, no, that's not right. That's not right. It's like, it's not that though. You're making it into that, and it's not that.
Comedy or jokes is one of those great things where it's like, it's immediately reactionary and it's guttural. You have to, if you hear something that genuinely makes you laugh, you have to make a concerted effort to not laugh. Like I feel like that's like just human biology almost, where it's like
Try
if
not
you
to
something was
laugh in Lavelle Crawford's special. That shit had. I mean, I've never felt my ribs about to rip out of its
well,
skin.
I might not, but not because like he sucks or it just might not be for me, right? But like I'm saying, but if there's a joke in there that hits me, I'm gonna laugh. So that's why it's funny when people are like that wasn't funny. It's like, but I saw you smile when he said it. So you did find it funny, but then you're fucking that part of your brain was like, I have to be woke or whatever the fuck, SJW party. You was like, but you thought it was funny because you can't stop you can't stop this, you can't stop huh, you can't stop that. Like you just can't. It's gutter. It's like in you.
When that acronym woke first started, there could have been a slight twist in reality
Is
if
it
we
an
were
acronym for what?
whatever it is, woke. I don't know. You could say library where they keep the lies. I don't know, but like
I don't think
woke.
it's what acronym. Acronyms like NASA.
What woke is this thing like when it first kind of started being used, it could have easily been something where it could have been like a text emoji where it's like I'm woke and that means you just woke up or something. It could have easily fucking slipped into that. But it turned into this whole thing where it took me a while to understand what woke was. Like, oh, wait, you mean just like being empathetic for other people? Like that's been around for fucking ages. But when now we classified it under a word and now it's like this whole new hip trend that you have to give a shit about other person's feelings. Yeah, you should give a shit about other person's feelings, but
Yeah,
not
but
so
like,
much to the fact where you're fucking ruining every fucking
but
thing.
hold on. Here's the thing though. But you don't have to. And that's like my message is like you should, but you don't have to. And that's fucking life. And the fact that people want to make it where you're nice, and I'm not. But I think you shouldn't have to be. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like as long as you're not being like hurting or stealing, you could be a dick. Who cares? Be a dick. Like, why am I gonna tell you not to be? I just won't be your friend. That's how I combat that.
It's all those people that wanted to be the hall monitor in school that are finally getting I guess, a choice to become one now.
Yeah, that oh, I saw a really funny meme today, actually, with the hall monitor thing, and it said the hall monitors was the 10-year-old Stanford prison experiment. Do you get that?
Yeah, I do.
Which is a really good joke.
That's really good.
It's a really good joke. Yeah,
It's like when you start to realize, I guess, oh man, damn, that is a really good joke.
because it is 100% is. And by the way, this is a very fun thing that most people don't know about. Our school system, the way it's set up, is straight trash. It's set up to respect authority. That's really what it's set up. It's not really set up for education. It's set up for authority.
It's the most flawed thing in the world. That's why when she said that to me, I was laughing because that's exactly how they
Yeah.
think of it.
So this is factual. People could look it up. It's very interesting actually. The Austrian school system was actually adopted here, and I'll tell you why. Because during the 1800s, when there was like farming and shit like that, a lot of times young kids when they were starting to go to school, right? No one had any proper education form or teaching, but Austrian immigrants had prior school teacher experience. So they were like, we'll do it. And the way they set it up was the way it was set up there. Guess how Austria was set up? That's where shit came from. That's where Hitler came from, right? It was very fucking strict, authoritative, like respect the teacher. The teacher knows all. Look up, look ahead. That's what it is. That's not really the good way, and that's not how education should be, as we kind of know now. But we never changed it because, well, the teachers union is the second worst union in the country. My wife's a teacher, by the way, and she's one of the few good ones. I see how hard she works and how hard she gives a shit, and I see how hard 90% of her colleagues are fucking straight trash.
Well,
Dude,
education system
straight
started.
trash.
Education system started as a thing to breed out factory workers as well. They're breeding people not to raise questions but to fill slots.
Yeah. Another interesting thing is this is why academics suck each other's dicks, and I don't respect them. Do you know the only job in the world where test taking directly correlates with success?
China.
Academia.
Academia.
It's the only job. So in other words, there's not comedy, a cop, a senate, nothing else under God's green earth in America You could take a test and keep succeeding at it and keep going higher and higher and higher. Everything else you can take tests for certain, but it'll only get you so high, and then it gets like merit in who you know. Not fucking academia. It's like, oh, I took another test. You're great. You're a genius, dude. Next level. It's like you're fucking dumb as shit. Just because you can remember what's in a book doesn't make you smart. And a lot of these academics, they think that. They think, oh, I read this, so I know this. No, man, you're fucking really dumb. And I'm dumb, but you're really dumb.
Yeah.
And that's what you realize when you get older. It's like, oh, you just all jerk each other off, but you don't actually go out and live life.
It's book smarts and common sense is a completely different thing.
Right.
I've from someone that's talked to many academics and people with PhDs, I can tell you a lot of them. I'm like, how do you not fucking know this? Like, this is just this is average knowledge, but you realize no, it's kind of a shelter type thing too. You know, the craziest thing I ever heard was when I had my buddy Jason on here, Latona. He's an ex-Power Ranger, the one we grew up with on TV. That one.
Oh, that Jason?
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah, fuck yeah, Red Jason.
So no, listen, hold on. He was a stunt man from 1994 to 2002 for all the Power Rangers.
Oh
So
shit, okay.
the one that was on our television. Well, I asked him, he was like, dude, it's hard to get a job. I'm like, but you're a fucking Power Ranger. He goes, yeah, but everybody's hiring people for master's degrees and like bachelors and shit. They don't want an ex-Power Ranger. I was like, with the shift in how millennials are taking over their parents' companies, you might want to switch your thinking on that. But it's that idea of like, you have to have a degree to get the best job. Not really anymore, because a lot of the people that I've seen that are really good at the things that they do never went to college.
I actually think that's I agree with you. It's fading away actually. Me growing up, especially my parents growing up, was like, go to college, but now, because I could get the same exact, technically the same education if I went to Harvard, if I really wanted to be dedicated and get the right books and stuff, right? I could read up. Yeah, I won't have a professor telling you, but you can actually take online courses where you do have Harvard professors teaching you or whatever. And I'm not even saying Harvard's the end all be all. That place is trash, because as you could tell during COVID, they're still charging people like $100,000. It's like, for what? Like, for what? What do you do?
Harvard also made it harder for Asian kids to be enrolled into
Yeah, no, they're straight racist, but that's a different issue. But like, I'm not even gonna get into that. It's honestly a whole other thing to unpack, how the hypocrisy and racism of that. But like, no, it's that thing where it's like, oh, you guys are just full of shit. Got it. You guys are bullshit. And then people start seeing that and go, oh yeah, you really don't, that college shit, it's still, oh dude, it definitely holds weight, especially in elite shit. Right? Like elite circles, the whole, like, oh, you went to Yale, all skull and bones, like all that shit really does matter. But like most people, it's like, oh, you could get by. You don't need college.
I like that end message. You don't need college.
You don't.
What do we need? We need love.
I mean, not really.
And hot wings.
Hot wings for sure. Wings, weed,
whiskey.
I'm not a drinker.
I'm trying to get Screwball to sponsor me, so.
Then whiskey.
They liked my tweet.
Whiskey.
I made a recipe. I said, if you mix A&W root beer and Screwball together and make it into a slushy, it's really freaking good. And they liked it, and now they're using it, but they're not giving me credit, so I'm fucking hurt.
Oh, that's annoying.
It's okay.
Oh, put some ice cream in there too.
That actually made a little bit of butterscotch too. Oh, that's what
I would try that. I'm not a drinker, but I would try it.
Well, Adam, why don't you promote where people can find you at, man? Tell people about the Cult of Us.
Yeah. So normally, I am a comic. I know none of this sounded like it. I'm not just a crazy political guy. No. Just check me out on Instagram and Twitter at Adam Nutter, and Facebook at Adam Nutter Comedy. Yeah, my podcast Cult of Us is available literally everywhere on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google, all that shit, Stitcher, Laughable. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Cult of Us. We do extra episodes. We do MMA fight watches. So like if you guys are like fight fans, UFC, the $3 tier, you could hang out in our Discord channel and we do the fights together. We do all the big ones and shit. It's pretty fun. So check that out. Patreon.com/Cult of Us. $1 gets you in the door for all the extra videos. And yeah, whenever I start comedy again, I post all my dates on my social media. So come out and see me.
Become a nut job.